Well, that is our House of Commons division bell. Do you want to take that home, Lucy? Because, you know, as a former... I mean, I don't think I can promise that, actually. But,
no, you probably can't promise that.
Yeah, as a former leader of the House.
Yeah.
We are live at the Politico pub. I'm Dan Bloom, the political editor for Politico in the UK, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Lucy Powell, one of the two candidates for deputy leadership, and, of course, former leader of the Commons.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. And we've got beer, but I'm afraid it is actually non-alcoholic beer.
I can only do non-alcoholic these days. But I do like a non-alcoholic.
So. Well, it is only just past noon, so I'll forgive you for that.
Even if it was just past midnight, I'd still be on a non-alcoholic. Sorry, I'm really boring.
I've actually stuck on the non-alcoholic and I'm completely knackered still. So, what's the best party you've been to, even sober, at conference?
This year?
Yeah, what's your favourite thing you've done at conference?
Well, the only party I've been to was the LGBTQ disco on.
Oh yeah, you DJ'd, didn't you?
I DJ'd,
What's your song of choice?
I had a good set list, yeah. I went sort of bar pop on a Friday night, a bit more vibes. So yeah, Charlie XCX, Lady Gaga, Years and Years, that kind of vibe. Kylie, modern Kylie.
I feel quite old and out of touch.
You don't know who I'm talking about.
I think I know them all, but I can't. Yeah. I can only name a few.
The kids know. The kids know. Don't worry, Dan.
So I want to start with an uncharacteristically newsy question for something like this, because overnight we've had the Trump-Gaza plan announced, right? I mean, how do you feel about having sort of, I think as the left has put it, Donald Trump or Tony Blair as the viceroy of Gaza? You know, what do you make of this plan?
Well, I mean, I welcome, a peace plan that seems to have widespread support, because I think, that's the most important thing, isn't it? If we can get a peace plan up and running there and end the absolute horror that's going on and begin that journey to rebuilding. So I'm not going to sort of pass judgment on that. I think let's get to a place where we can start getting aid back in, we can stop the killing, we can start sort of rebuilding and free the hostages and all of that. Is, I think that's the most important thing, and it's got widespread support in the region, and that's a remarkable thing. And I think what it shows is that it was always going to take America to lead that, really.
Do you think we need to trust the Trump administration on the details of this thing? We should endorse it.
I mean, everybody's fully involved, aren't they? The British are fully involved, the Arab countries, the neighbouring countries, people are sort of fully involved with it. So I'm not across all the minutiae of it, but I think we should all be welcoming there being a real viable peace plan on the table, which I hope can come into effect ASAP.
Let's talk about the deputy leadership. You've talked about speaking truth to power, ideally in private, right? Striking the balance.
Within the family.
So how much are you kind of planning, if you do win, to really be a critical friend of the government? Is it actually that, some might say that you're saying this because it's what the membership really want to hear at the moment, but actually you might not be lobbing rods the whole time?
Were you trying to bring Oasis in with you, some might say there? I thought you were going a bit Mancunian. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, just picking up that. Look, I mean, I think I really want this government to succeed. I think we can be better than what we have been and more successful. I think part of doing that will be that we've got broader voices at the table, that we're more connected to not just our members and our elected representatives, but through them to our sort of communities and workplaces. And I think if we hear from and draw on those broader voices and those broader experiences, I think we'll make better decisions. So it's about ensuring that is in the conversation and that is around the table. Like how much that is resisted or required to be pushed at, we'll obviously see. But I think what I'm being clear about is, rest assured I will do that. I will obviously have a mandate from the members to do that too. But I also want to help this government with its sort of political strategy and how we're communicating ourselves and seizing back the terms of the debate and the political megaphone, as I've been saying this week as well. So, I'm not afraid to do that. I will absolutely do that. I've been in government for the last 15 months. Obviously, I've served loyally the Labour Party over many years and many different leaders, and I've served Keir loyally too. I'm not here to make life harder and be more difficult. But if that, to make it more successful, if that involves speaking truth to power or having the difficult conversations, they will be had.
Yeah, because Angela Rayner was, obviously she was in government, but she was deputy leader, and when it came to the welfare reforms in the summer, she was kind of one of those voices, wasn't she? Kind of inside government, bringing problems with the welfare reforms, as she saw it, to number 10. On welfare particularly, do you see yourself as a sort of, ringleader of the backbenchers if you win this job?
Well, I think I've been the shop steward of the backbenchers, and obviously worked with Angela on some of those issues around welfare as well. I have, in effect, one of the reasons I've got so much support from backbench MPs in the nominations phase was because they have seen me as their sort of shop steward in many ways over the last year, and I will continue with that job in a way that is outside of government. So I'm outside of the constraints of government from a sort of collective responsibility point of view, but also from the bureaucracy, from the actual running of a department. I'll be able to do that full time, all the time, and act politically all the time, be in the political conversations, not the governmental kind of conversations. And absolutely, I will bring those concerns to the table. I wouldn't say ringleader because that's a slightly different thing, isn't it?
A bit more loaded.
Yes.
You've said you won't accept a cabinet post if you get this job. Be slightly mean. What some people say about this deputy leadership contest is that that's the only difference, really, between you and Bridget Phillipson. Are they right?
Well, it's definitely not the only difference, but I think it speaks to bigger differences in that sense. Because for me, it's really important to be outside the cabinet. This is a party job. This is not an advert for Deputy Prime Minister. David Lammy is the Deputy Prime Minister. So this is not a government job. This is a party job that is given to you by party members, and that brings with it a power, a responsibility, a style and approach about how you're going to do it. And I think I could be a lot more effective doing that outside of cabinet. Is the first point. And I think that we, drawing on the broader talents and voices in our movement, which I can bring to the table more clearly. I've shown that, in terms of my own approach, my own politics. But also I take a different approach, I think, when it comes to sort of political strategy. I feel like we've been very tactical. We're sort of tacking one way, tacking another. We're trying to sort of out-reform. We keep going on about reform all the time. And I'm really clear that we have got to be a lot clearer about what we're doing in order to rebuild our voter coalition. We've been losing a lot of votes the other way as well, more votes, in fact, than we've been losing to reform. I want to reunite our voter coalition around an agenda of what we think is really wrong with this country and how we are fixing it. And I think that's quite a big difference.
You talk about out-reforming reform. Is the indefinite leave to remain policy of the government, is that a problem?
Well, all of those things. I think we're pleasing no one by, on one side trying to sort of, out-reform, and then on the other side we're kind of losing our progressive voters to the left, and that you see that in the polling figures, don't you, and what's happening around the country in by-elections and other things. And I think part of that is that we, as the government, as the Labour Party, and as the government, we should be a lot clearer about setting the terms of the debate. Nigel Farage wants you to think that everything that's wrong with this country is as a result of immigration. I fundamentally reject that. We've got to tackle immigration, and I support Shabana in doing that. We've got to tackle some of the concerns people have. But we have to tell a much, much clearer story about why people are feeling worse and worse off, why they've got less and less security in their job, in their housing, in their lives. It's not because of immigration, it's because we've got a country and an economy that doesn't work for ordinary people. Trickle-down economics, the economic model just hasn't worked. So we need to completely rewire that. And I think we need to make a much stronger pitch for wrestling back that megaphone to set the terms of the debate. And I think that's quite a big difference between what I'm saying and what Bridget's saying.
Well, you've said, like the PM has, that some of Nigel Farage's policies are racist. Is Nigel Farage racist, in your opinion?
I don't think Nigel Farage is racist particularly, but he's obviously, some of his policies I think are so. But I think look, that's, again, you know, I think we can all just talk about Nigel Farage too much. I'm more interested about what we're doing and how we're going to change the country for ordinary people and how we're going to set the terms of the debate and not just keep going on about Nigel Farage.
I'll go back to this comparison one more time. Bridget, your rival, colleague, etc., put up a post yesterday saying that she would be Labour's heart and soul in government. You'll be, well, she didn't say you, but she said, I'm the alternative to distractions, infighting and noise. Which one are you? Distractions, infighting, noise, all three?
Well, you know, I think it was quite an ill-advised post of hers, to be honest. Look, debate is not dissent. You know, I think it's perfectly reasonable, and actually it was one of the reasons that I stood in this contest. People want to have a debate about whether we can be better than we are currently being. If people think everything's going great and swimmingly, don't vote for me. But if you think we need a course correction and we can be a better version of ourselves by including more voices, by being better connected to our communities, and by telling a much clearer narrative about our purpose and our motives and our authentic selves, then vote for me. But you know, I don't think that I'm a divisive person in any way, shape or form. I've been a loyal person for a long time, but I am someone who is impatient to improve things and make things better. And I think having someone, I think there's a real virtue now. I'm value added is what I keep saying, you know what I mean? You've got the cabinet, people have got their cabinet positions. I'm value added. I'm a political person sitting alongside cabinet with a mandate from the membership, the choice of the membership, but who can really build up the infrastructure of the party, can be that political voice full time all the time and get the politics back in the conversation. And that's a value added thing, no?
Can I just ask, would you have still run if you hadn't been moved out in the reshuffle?
I don't know. It's hard to know. I mean, it morphed, you know. I did have sort of 24 hours there where I was thinking about booking a holiday, and then I kind of wasn't. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, I was completely overwhelmed that weekend with just hundreds of really, really lovely messages from people about how important I had been to them this year as backbenchers and how sorry they were. And that quickly morphed from those messages into, will you stand, will you stand, will you stand? So that's kind of how I arrived at it. It wasn't like I suddenly thought, aha, this is what I'm going to do. It was an evolution.
I want to take you back to the past for a minute. Mm-hmm. You were part of Labour Together doing the election review kind of 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Did you have any inkling then that they were this secretive cabal trying to get one faction of Labour into Downing Street?
No. I don't think... I mean, obviously Lisa Nandy was very involved in Labour Together at the time that I was as well. And as I remember, she stood against Keir in that same leadership election. But look, I did a really big piece of work with Labour Together, which I'm really proud of, and actually stands the test of time. And that's what I want to build on actually in this job, because what we did then was we did this deep dive and why we lost in 2019 and how we needed to rebuild. And in that report, there's a whole chapter on political strategy and reuniting the voter coalition, because we'd lost the red wall, we'd lost voters to the left, and what it was that united them. And it's that work that I did, and we could have a longer conversation about that, but I think that stands the test of time today. And we did that report when we didn't know who was going to be. We did the whole piece of work during the leadership campaign when Lisa was standing against Keir and Rebecca was standing, and it was to give to whoever won as like a blueprint of what we needed to do to rebuild and to win the next election. And actually, I think if that advice of that report had been really followed through to today, I think we would have been doing better.
I guess the point, right, is that it's become quite clear after the fact that a lot of people behind it were organising in a much more focused way, right? So the question is really like, do you think that it changed after you were doing it, or do you think that part of the aim was sort of kept hidden from you and some other people?
Well, what I remember from the time, I mean, we had this big commission. It was me, Ed Miliband, Shabana Mahmood were the main politicians, and then we had a commission of people from the left. We had Unite were involved. We had Ellie May O'Hagan, who was brilliant on that commission. We had people from the right of the party and other people in between. The 15 of us sort of working on this piece of work for about 5 or 6 months, of which most of that time was when the leadership contest was happening, and Labour Together was supporting us at that time. Morgan was already working, I think, then for Keir, and this was an independent piece of work, bringing together people who were backing Becky, people who were backing Lisa, people who were backing Keir, and none in between, to make sure that we really kind of learnt the lessons, and we had this blueprint of the political strategy that we needed to deploy after whoever had won. So that it was never a feature for me or any of us, I don't think. And as I say, with Ed Miliband, Shabana Mahmood and me and all of those other people, I don't think you could have pinned any one leader on any of us at that point.
I won't bang on about them forever, but just one more. There's been obviously this stuff about the donations that were declared late to the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission has said that, from the evidence at the time, they don't need to launch further investigation. Do you think that's it, case closed, or do you think you'd welcome a further look?
No, I think that's the.
I want to take you even further back in time.
Oh God,
I think
right.
You worked in Millbank on the '97 election campaign. Is that right? Just forget.
As a volunteer.
Yeah, of course. But then you went to work in Parliament, didn't you? And
yeah.
I just forget for a moment, like the economy, the social fabric, like the actual what society looks like. What's the biggest difference between like the government in 1998 and the government now? Like how it's all working?
Well, I mean, there obviously are many more challenges and difficulty, but I mean, I was like 23 or something then when I started. I think it was 22 when I was at Millbank, and then 23 when I was a kind of working in Parliament.
I wasn't trying to shame you on the.
No, it was a long time ago, and I'm an old person. But what I remember about that time was, for quite a while in the early years of the new Labour government. I mean, it was still really fresh and amazing, and there was lots going on. It was like working in Parliament then was like Freshers' Week every week for about 3 years, like discovering the bars, and it was all buzzy and exciting, and felt like a sea change.
Is it buzzy and exciting and
I think
fresh
it's
and amazing now?
It's not been quite the same vibes, no.
Okay. Do you think that Tony Blair had more of a sense of like direction and what he wanted to do in, say, 1998 than the government does now, or do you think it's...
I mean, yeah, probably, but times were very different. I mean, politics was very, very different then. I mean, not just the economy, what's happening globally, what's the state of the public services and all. I mean, we have got these huge, big challenges all at once, like global situation, migration being a real challenge for all countries, public services, the economy coming out of COVID and an energy crisis, wars. I mean, it is huge, but also politics is really different. I mean, at that time, it was still only Labour and the Tories. So we were riding high, the Tories were on the floor, and that just meant we carried on riding high, right? So you didn't really have anyone else kind of coming along and mopping up all the differences. We're now in a big multi-party sort of state, and so it might have been more exposed then. I don't know. You just can't translate. If there'd been a sort of a vehicle that was neither the party that's just lost an election and had a long time in office that everyone's turning away from, or someone who's just been voted in and it's maybe not quite. If everyone else had somewhere else to go, it might have been quite different.
It's about the multi-party thing. Do you think? Is electoral reform a thing that you would support? I don't know if you've been asked this already.
Yeah, every Labour Party meeting ever.
I mean, look, to PR or to something else.
I mean, I very strongly support the constituency link, because I think that is a really fundamental part of our representative democracy. But I supported the referendum for AV in the past. It's something that I've supported, but I just don't think it's a priority right now. I mean, parliamentary time is a very finite, short resource. Bandwidth of doing stuff in government, and I think we are under such pressure, rightly so, to show people that progressive mainstream politics can actually change people's lives for the better. People need to see that change. They need to see that we're doing it, and therefore all our focus needs to be on that. And I think sort of taking away from that and distracting from that. I mean, look how long it's taken us to get the hereditary peers bill, a short bill that shouldn't be controversial, really, constitutional change. Look how long that's taken us to get through. We've got a big elections bill coming up soon, which will do some big things like votes at 16 and make voter registration a lot easier and get more people onto voting. That's going to take ages. So you've only got a certain amount of bandwidth you can do.
I'm going to go to some quick fire and then I'm going to pass the microphone around the room quickly.
It's like doing Nick Robinson, this.
Yeah. Best Labour leader?
Oh,
in a word.
Well, how can you make me do that? Well, obviously I work for Ed, so but I grew up with Neil Kinnock, who's, a hero. Yeah, all good.
I'm going to steal the Mumsnet question. Biscuit. Right. Favourite biscuit? Have you done that one before?
Yeah, it sort of changes with time. Do you know what? At the moment, I quite like a short crust. What do you call them? Shortbread. Yeah, shortbread.
Morgan McSweeney or Sue Gray?
Oh, don't make me do that. I'm not doing that.
Andy Burnham or Angela Rayner?
Oh, don't make me do that either.
OK, I'll go for one last one.
Yeah.
You told Peston last night that you really hope that Keir Starmer will lead Labour into the next election.
Yeah.
Do you think that he definitely will?
Oh, I haven't got a crystal ball either.
All right.
Honestly.
Well, sorry, those are all really mean. So let's go for some questions around the room.
That's mean. You could have to be like Oasis or Blur, or like Man City, Man United, or something.
I know
you know what I mean?
Say to Oasis or Blur.
Well, exactly.
I assume.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Blur, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. OK. Right. Let's go to some questions in the room. Has anyone got? Yes.
Thank you both. Keir Starmer has said in the past that he's not an ideological politician. Do you think that's to blame for the government's lack of direction and their inability to withstand criticism and bad poll ratings?
Well, I think we've got to give a clearer sense of who we are and who we are serving and whose side we're on, and I think that's really important. I've said sort of this week that, in modern politics, it's all about the war for attention and the war for authenticity, and we've not done great on either of those things. So I think we've got to give a kind of greater sense of our sort of authentic selves and what we are trying to do. And I think there's lots of ways we can do that, but we just need to keep coming back to it. So that every single thing we do doesn't look tactical, but we've got more kind of principles and purpose sitting behind them, and everything we do doesn't just look like a separate event, but part of a bigger picture.
Any more? I thought this chap had his hand up here. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Lucy Powell. Listen, thank you for your speech. You mentioned it's a party position, and you said that the constituency are the, so what would you do, because I know a lot of constituencies and a lot of members feel that the constituencies don't really feel represented by the governing part of the party, so what would you do to represent the constituencies and I think the unions as well?
Yeah, well, absolutely, and good question, and I think that's why, I'm really clear. This is a party role. This is not a government role, and so therefore, being the voice of the members is absolutely to the core of what this job is. And to be that effectively, you've got to be constantly in touch and constantly having that dialogue and that debate and being that feedback loop, that bridge, however what you want to describe it. So, and I think at the moment, part of the job would be also a bit of a boost and a bit of a morale boost, getting everyone going, mobilising and doing that. So I think part of that is for members and constituencies and the unions to feel like their views, their experience, they are contributing and they're valued. And that's about being heard, but it's also about responding and acting as well. And I think that's what we've just got to get a lot better at doing. So some of that's organisational, but quite a lot of that's political as well.
We'll go for one last one if anyone's got. Yep. Anna.
West Streeting has just said in the hall that he welcomes Angela Rayner come back. He said, actually, we need her back. Do you agree? And when would you like to see Angela Rayner back, if you do agree?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me something technical about what Wes has said in the hall then, because this is a bit like being at Glastonbury, where everyone's like, have you seen such? Have you seen such and such? And you're like, no, I'm in a completely different field. But anyway, yeah, I mean, look, Angela is a good dear friend of mine, and it's a huge loss to the Labour Party and to the government that she's had to step down, let's be honest. I definitely think she can come back and be back, and she's got a huge amount to offer when she does, and she should absolutely come. I mean, she's still an MP, she's still a leading figure, and I think that, you know, look, what happened to her, she didn't act in bad faith. She got something wrong, but she wasn't acting in bad faith, and so I think there's absolutely a route for her to be back, and let's see what form that takes. I'm sure it won't be too long before she's you know, making some of her views known, and I'm sure she'll enjoy some of the freedom that comes from not being in government as well. So,
Do you want her back within the next year, do you think?
I mean, what do you mean back?
In government.
Well, I mean, that's up to her. I don't know if that's what she wants to do, but she will make her voice heard. I can be sure of that. You know, Angela, as I say, has got a huge amount to offer, to contribute. She's also an incredibly resilient person who's often underestimated. And, you know, I'm sure it won't be too long before we hear from her and see her again. And whatever form that takes, you know, that's up to her.
That's really interesting. Have you spoken to her at all in the last, you know, couple of weeks?
A bit.
Yeah, it sounded like you were talking about something she might do.
Oh,
but,
no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not here to sort of plot her, but I just think, you know, she's got a lot to say, and I want to hear from her.
All
I'm
right.
sure we all do.
On that note, thank you very much
Yeah.
for joining us. We're to time, but really appreciate you coming in and having a fake beer with
Yeah,
me. So
it's not
cheers.
that fake. Yeah.
Also, I need to know, was it Man United or Man City? Because I've got no idea.
Obviously, Man City.
Okay, fine. I have no idea. Boo. All
Man
right,
United fans, they get everywhere outside of Manchester.
Thank you very much. We'll switch the feed off in a moment, and then we're going to be coming back at 3:30 with Steve Reed, who I'm going to be talking to again, and then I'm done for conference, so that is fantastic. Thank you very much for coming.
Great, no problem, thank you.